again, or are you fake frozen?
No, I'm not frozen.
What? Welcome back, everyone, to the Finders Flippers Resell Podcast, episode number 40, gentlemen. Here we go.
You look like Max Headroom just then.
Would you like a Pepsi? Welcome back, everyone.
I don't know how much longer I can hold out before I get a haircut.
Yeah, I thought you were looking quite Grizzly Adams.
I'm trying to, look good for the Christmas episode. Remember, this podcast is always your first priority, no matter
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I feel kind of old, Johnny. I feel like I'm getting a lot more gray hair.
Yeah, all your facial hair's falling off.
Yeah, look at that. What is going on with me? And put a little ring, it has a line through it. Man.
I'll grade the two of us out to be a color.
We'll show Depop.
That's right.
So if you're a viewer and have been banned by Depop, drop that in the comments.
Yes, misery loves company. Let us know.
Yes. Join the 2/3 anyway.
I want all my future generations to be banned. My goal for our podcast long term is for all three of us to be banned, but then we also get them to be a sponsor.
Well, we are a fractional resale show. 2/3 of this and 2/3.
Yeah, do not take advice from us.
2/3 of the Finders Flippers podcast have been banned from Depop.
2/3 is on Consignment Chat's video. So we're making our way all the way around. 2/3 here, 2/3 there.
Get our blood pressure up before we go off the air here.
Scary.
I mean, I think guys, imagine if we became a morning show.
Have a cup of Joe with Johnny and Stewart.
Weather on the 10s, guys.
Johnny, what's the weather going to be like today?
Oh, it's going to be breezy 68 degrees, brought to you by visitknoxville.com. Am I freezing?
No, your mouth wasn't going. It was like watching an old Kung Fu movie.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Finders Flippers Resell Podcast, episode number 40. The big 40, gentlemen. We're getting older.
Guys, this was our 40th episode?
Episode number 40. That is correct.
Lordy, guys. We are on episode 40. Thanks for joining us. We've got a lot to cover today. We are so excited to have you here. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. But welcome, guys. Number 40.
Well, glad to see everybody back without any face paint or wigs or.
Yeah, I'm surprised you were able to get that paint off.
It took me a couple hours. A lot of surface area, big forehead and everything else. So, I had to cover a lot of it, or uncover a lot of it.
So I will say that Lizzie and I were packing orders this morning, and I was just playing it, and she was actually laughing out loud several times. So it got her seal of approval. It was really good. The thing that got me though was his cat. Me and Johnny sitting there just laughing.
I thought y'all were just laughing at me. I couldn't continue.
Yeah.
I kept talking and y'all kept laughing. And
honestly, I didn't know what you had said till I watched it back because I was watching the cat going. I was just mesmerized by what it was doing.
I will. This is some breaking news though. Lizzie did say that she now wants to be on the show. She had a little FOMO with Mel on the show.
Oh, okay. Well, we need to get this thing together and get the ladies on.
Mm-hmm.
Look like we're getting some pretty good traction on our Halloween show. It's our second most watched video after the first however many hours it's been out. So
yeah, it was a good one. It was actually pretty good.
That one took a while because I dropped in all the candies and I tried to.
I did notice that. I saw you put yours up for the first one, and I'm like, I wonder if he's going to do that for all of them, and you did.
I did.
People probably saw the thumbnail and thought, "Oh wow, how were they able to get Joaquin Phoenix on the show?"
Wow, I'm gonna go watch that. Joaquin's on the show. Yeah, that was his look. Joaquin Phoenix's look.
Maybe that's why the durations of just the views are up, the duration's down just a little bit. Maybe they figured out a couple minutes in, that's not Joaquin Phoenix. I'm cutting this off.
They were like, nope, it's still those guys. Never mind. Turn it off. Wes, what was Mel's feedback of being on the show? Did she enjoy herself?
She did. She enjoyed it. She's not, she don't like to be on camera and stuff. She's, I don't know what you call it, shy, I guess, a little bit, but I thought she did great. I don't know how you all felt, but I thought it's just funny, and yeah, she did. She really enjoyed it. She had a good time with it. So yeah, I think having all of the wives on.
She didn't have any problems jumping in with Johnny and I and ganging up on you. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know, boy.
Man,
she took liberties at that, didn't she?
Yeah. She's been waiting for a moment like that for some time. You could tell.
Well, it's what they do, though, Johnny. They have something that they don't hit you right away with it. They wait on it.
It was good. It was a good episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it watching back.
Well, I waited until after midnight. I wanted to put it up just to see how it would track, like with people on the West Coast, if anybody, got to see it like at 9:00 at night. So,
like I said, maybe we take this episode, assuming you get it edited, and try to make it live like 8:00 Tuesday night. See if we get a little bit more traffic, right on the front end.
I tend to agree with you. I think jumping it up on a Tuesday night might be even better. Especially with what I saw from this video, the way it's performed. Or, it could be because it is a special one. I don't know.
Yeah.
All our episodes are special.
They are. But, I was in a mound full of face paint. Did you keep hearing the swish of Stewart, though? Did you hear his noises he was making at the store?
I didn't really notice it, too. Well, I know, the pig and the poke. Yeah, I guess first. The humming wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's because I had a fan in my pocket.
Yeah, I thought you were just happy to see us.
Yeah.
So, Johnny, I noticed today that you became St. John.
I was. Oh, you saw that?
I did. So, tell us a little bit about St. John and St. John's Bay, if you could kind of.
So, a lot of times I'll just wake up in the middle of the night and then I can't fall asleep and my brain just goes all over the place. So it had to be like March or April. And I was like, Frizz, I know what we're going to be for Halloween. Just like, oh, okay. Like, tell me in 7 months. Like, and I was like, I'm going to be St. John and you're going to be St. John's Bay. And then, so for those of you who don't know, St. John's is like a higher end women's brand. That she normally gets pretty excited about when she finds out in the thrift stores. And being, Johnny, it was just a natural fit that I could be St. John. And then I was like, oh, what could you be? Something with St. John. And then I was like, St. John's Bay. So I've been sitting on that for like 6 months. I ordered the like priest costume months ago, and I've just been waiting for this moment.
Mm-hmm. You all had some pretty good sales.
It's picked up. We had a really good week, a really good weekend. It's picked up the last week. I know our last episode that you guys saw, I had said that it was kind of flat, but it had picked up a little bit after that. We had 42 sales that we shipped out on Monday. For almost $2,000. So it picked up higher end stuff. And Stewart, I think you mentioned that on our last pod pre-Halloween that you had some higher dollar stuff that was moving. And
I've been focusing more on listing high dollar stuff or higher dollar stuff. Most of my real high dollar stuff still goes to the booths, but looking to try to up my average cost or average sale, because I do a lot of, $12 to $20 sales, which is fine. I do a pretty good volume of them, but I would like to bump up that average to, $20 to $40 if I could. And so, yeah, I've been definitely focused, and I've been listing more clothes. I've been trying to, like when I go to estate sales, I've been more focused on looking at clothes, which is something I would have never even gone to like the closets and looked before. And actually found a couple of sweaters from a I guess New Zealand, isn't that where they make a lot of sweaters? The wool ones. And
Yep.
bought a couple of those and actually sold the first one for like $45. So I was actually pretty proud of myself for that.
One thing that's actually been selling really well for us these last couple of weeks is vintage LL Bean like winter wear. We've been selling sweaters and some like short chore jackets that have like the corduroy collars. We've actually been selling quite a few of that stuff. So LL Bean has had a little bit of a resurgence.
So with y'all selling so many clothes, what are your measurements that you always try to capture? Because I'm not selling a lot of clothes. I'm not always sure about what measurements I need to provide.
We just do pit to pit and then length. So we'll do. So
do you call it pit to pit in the listing? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some posts where people go, I don't like the pit to pit, so I call it chest or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw something once that people were like, pit to pit's a reseller term, but like anytime anybody's had a question, like they say pit to pit. So and if somebody's not buying it because it, but we don't put what we do is we take a photograph of the tape measure on, so we don't type it into the description or anything. Okay. And initially when we started reselling, we didn't do any measurements, but we just got so many questions and we used to ignore them, or if it was a higher end thing, we would then go back and so now we just put it in everything. It just made life easier.
Yeah, I guess the four I was doing the pit to pit and calling it pit to pit, and then length, and then I was also doing like shoulder, from the seam to the seam. I guess that's called shoulder.
Yeah.
And then if it was a long sleeve shirt, I was putting a sleeve length in there. But I think those were the four I was doing. And I mean, I haven't had any questions, but I don't have
if it's like a high end blazer or something like that, we might put like another measurement in, but usually just those two.
Yeah. So if anybody watching, if y'all have, how do y'all do it? Do y'all type it in? Do you take pictures? Do you use a product like Sizely or one of those third-party tools? I'm curious to see how everybody does it, because I am planning to start selling more clothes just because it's easy to ship, and I think like you said, it's something that sells year round. And most of the stuff I sell sells year round, but a lot of the stuff I sell has such low sell-through rates just because it's collectibles, and I have a lot of volume listed, so that kind of makes up for it, I guess. But I don't know. Just always looking. Every year I try to add a new revenue stream. That's kind of my goal. And I guess clothes are what I'll be targeting for 2025 to really.
Well, you just have to come into contact with it a lot too, then just sourcing, right? So it's like, if you go to a estate sale, it's like half an estate sale that you're not looking at.
Yeah. And like I said, prior to the last couple of estate sales I've been to, I can't tell you the last time I'd gone like into the bedroom closets or, unless I happen to see maybe some sweatshirts or something that I might buy for myself. But so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the clothes work out for me.
Yeah, Johnny, I've been buying 2X, 3X, 4X clothing because that stuff will sell. Like these smaller clothes, they won't do it. But, I've been selling a lot of 3X and 4X stuff. I've been picking up some things.
We pick up, unless it's a specific brand, we pick up very little medium and under. Unless it's just, a great brand or whatever. We kind of live in a large enough world in most cases. But even there's things that we don't pick up. But if it's a 4XLT or a 3XLT, we'll pick it up, like Ralph Lauren polos. Like those things are a dime a dozen. But if you find a 4XLT, it's still only going to sell for that, $22-ish, but it'll sell pretty quick. And so it's worth it.
Haven't you said before, Johnny? Pretty much all y'all's thrift shops, right? All y'all sourcing.
Yeah.
I haven't been to a thrift shop now in probably 3 weeks. Yeah, I think I went to Ambet's a couple weeks ago, and like I used to go to Ambets every day because, I mean, they were by far the best thrift shop, at least in West Knoxville, as far as their pricing and keeping stuff rotated. And then management's turned over a couple of times, and they have staffing issues just like everybody else does right now. So, I mean, seems like now I can go a week, once a week and see the same stuff that was there the week before.
Right.
And then they've also got a new pricer, and I mean, their pricing's just, I don't know. It's just harder to find value. You can still find value. Like, I love their books because they price all their books at 79 cents. So, that's a really good price for books. And then their vinyl records are $1.99. They went up from 99, but there's still value there when I can find, like ones that'll sell well in the booth. But like their collectibles and stuff, you can tell they've gotten where they're just checking stuff, and they'll price. And the problem with most of these places, like they'll find, let's say it's some kind of collectible plate, for example, and maybe they find it on eBay for $20. Well, they'll then price it. They might put a picture or something. Put the eBay price, and we're only selling it for $12. Well, yeah, it's got 3 chips on the rim too. They don't. They don't really take condition into account, or and they also are looking at asking prices versus sold prices a lot of times. But me personally, and I like to think if I ran a thrift shop, that my model would just be price everything by category, no matter what it is, because and cater to resellers, because ultimately that's who's going to buy most of your stuff, especially things that aren't necessities. And if you just price everything by category, then people are going to keep coming back, and you're going to sell more volume, and ultimately shelf space. If you just have shelf space taken up, that's a cost right there. So I like to.
Well, you just think
shop that'd be that way. Now I know when you do it, you find something cool comes in. I know you think, oh, I can get $100 for that, but it's.
Well, you think of the labor cost involved of having somebody look up, especially like every knickknack and, just like every tchotchke, and someone's just going through and trying to Google Lens it. And, they're not looking at comps, they're looking at listings, and just the cost of that, like just move it. And Stewart, to kind of piggyback off that, like t-shirts, I would have them as $1. Because they're just, they get so many of them. And think of, like, I know for us, we're like, man, if these were $3 a piece, I'd buy all of them. But, at $7 a piece, I'm not buying any of them.
Well, like, that's a great example, though, because also, like, I know you won't wear a t-shirt from a thrift shop, but most reasonable people will.
Most people will.
If you price them at $1 a piece, you have 20 shirts priced at $1, so that's $20. And somebody, oh, this is cool, it's only $1, I'll buy it. Yep. Where if you have them priced $3, $4, then this is cool, but I don't think I'm going to spend $3. So then you sell 4 shirts at $4 each, and you've made less than So that's probably a simple example, but I would guess that you're going to ultimately make more pricing things to move versus pricing them to get top dollar for every item that comes in. We are getting a new thrift shop here in West Knoxville, right down the road from me. I'd be curious. They're a chain, so do y'all have the America's thrift shops over in your area, Johnny?
The red, white, and blues?
I guess. They're not. They're called America's Thrift Shop. But, I know they have them down in Alabama and Georgia, and I'm not sure where else. So I'll be curious. I did a quick Google and did some reviews, and it's like any reviews, they're all over the place. These are the greatest prices ever. I never buy anything here. They overprice everything they have, and so it's going to be a huge store, though. Just looking at the storefront, so it'll at least be another option to go check out. And I'll be curious to see what kind of stuff they get, because they. It was kind of hard to tell from their website, like how they exactly do their charity stuff. I think they may partner with like a local charity with in whatever city they're in. I know, like in Atlanta, they do with one of the children's hospitals. But once again, it's just going to be, if nothing else, you hope maybe it's, now we'll have the Ambets, we'll have the Goodwill. we'll have the Carm, we'll have the America's Thrift Shop, then we'll have the Concord United Methodist Thrift Shop right down the road. So, you just hope out another one, maybe some competition. They'll, it'll keep prices reasonable. We'll see. I look at thrift shops now. They're such a small part of what I get. I mean, I still like going just because I enjoy it. But, I mean, it's like last week I got calls from 3 different people, who were somehow, related, not necessarily related family-wise, but, were other people. I looked at stuff and they'd gotten my name from somebody. And so it's always funny. Amy goes, I always know when you're going to get a bunch of calls because it's right when we get the garage, to think where we think it's about cleaned out. And then we'll literally have like 3 or 4 major sourcing opportunities that happen all within a week. So we're like right now the garage is overflowing again. Well,
my number one thing to do is estate sales. That is my number one thing to do. I didn't think I would like it when I first started doing it, but I mean, I really do. And Johnny, back to what you were talking about, these closets, people just really pass them by. They just kind of go, yeah, okay. And you don't really take the time to bend in there and look and go, okay, I see what's going on here. But if you do that, if you take the time, and if it's like a person that's, for me, like a larger size, 2X, 3X, like you said, you may only get $20, $22 out of these clothing items, but they go pretty quick. They don't sit there very long.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you're a first-time viewer and Wes says he's a big guy, we're talking like really tall, not really so,
well, it goes back to also what Johnny said about me being a keeper of my stuff. I need 2X stuff because I am 6'6". So, but yeah, it's hard to find stuff. It really is. When I'm out going through these estate sales, I look for bigger clothes because if it's a guy like me that's growing up, they get on eBay and they see these clothing items, they're going to pick them up quick because they don't stay there long.
It is the benefit of being average male height, just 5'10". Well, everything's built for me.
Yeah,
it's Johnny's world.
5'11", 9.5 shoe. It's pretty average. So,
what are some other brands, Johnny, that you pick up that are good sellers for you and your wife?
So like on the men's side, there's some like golf brands. So, take notes. We do really good with it's called G4 is a higher end golf brand that does pretty well. Faherty, Filson out of Seattle is a really cool like outdoorsy kind of brand. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. J. Crew has really picked up lately. Like I said before, Vintage LL Bean has been doing really well. It's nice because it's winter time, so more of that heavier stuff is starting to sell really well. But like things like Lululemon, we've seen drop off. It doesn't do as well as it used to, and things like that. So it's
That's surprising to hear that they dropped off. Huh.
But like Abercrombie's having a resurgence, so it's everything kind of ebbs and flows. We'll say the tricky part of getting into clothes, just because styles and brands change so often, that if you're kind of stocking up on clothes at the end of a kind of a style cycle, like right now skinny jeans are out, or like jeans that are all tore with the holes are out. So you can easily just be stockpiled with wholly skinny jeans that, will be popular again in a couple of years. But
so I think we've talked about this before, but just for everybody watching, why do you just stick with clothes? Is it because it's easy to ship, or what?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it's just kind of what we were naturally drawn to. Like I'll go through the hard goods and I'll look at those electronics and I'll see the VCRs and the Blu-ray players, and like I don't want to deal with it. I do think part of that is I do the majority of the shipping, and this is my part-time thing, not my full-time thing. Mm-hmm. And so like my time's a little precious with that. So I can fold shirts and throw them in a poly bag all day, but like having to bubble wrap, and I had Frizzy sold a vase on Macari today, like a Asian Chinese vase.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to wrap it, and I'm like, this is just shoot me. Like, I don't want to deal with it. I think if maybe I was full-time, I would be more open to that, but just ease of storage, ease of shipping, just all of that.
So I was going to ask you, Stewart, about your stores. How are they doing here in this fourth quarter?
This month's been really good at all three. Especially at the one in Clinton. Now, part of that's because this was the fall festival month. So the first week in October, we had that festival, and I did in one weekend what I'll sometimes do in a month, and then it's kind of carried on. But yeah, I had a really good weekend this last weekend at the two in Knoxville. So. So yeah, it'll be one of my better overall months with the boost in a while, and I'm hoping November will even be better as we get closer to Christmas. I mean, the in-person stores definitely seem to pick up with the holidays, just with people looking for Christmas gifts and got family down, I guess. And so,
which store's performing the best for you?
Well, this month it's Granny's, the one in Clinton, and then the other two are kind of about the same. But yeah, I mean, it varies from month to month. I've always wished I could just find that secret sauce to where I get them all three to, really kick butt every month. But it's like 1 month it'll be this one, and the other two are here, and then it'll just flip flop the next month. And there's really never seems to be any rhyme or reason.
Is it because you actually work them, or is it because of what you have stocked in your booth?
Probably a little
or a bit of both.
I go to the Knoxville booths more because they're closer. I mean, I always go to those once or twice a week, where I'll go to Clinton usually once every 2 weeks. But I do tend, just kind of as a general rule, I tend to do more volume in Clinton, more high-end sales in Knoxville. That being said, I definitely sell some, I sold a couple of $200 pieces of art in Clinton last month. So, every once in a while I sell high dollar stuff there too. But for the most part, it's more like knick-knacky, lower price stuff in Clinton, just because you get a lot of out of town people coming through. And I guess, they don't have room to put big stuff. And so they're just looking for, I guess, souvenirs or mementos of their visit to the antique district.
Stewart, how's Granny's Attic just in general been doing since they moved?
Overall, so in talking to the owner, I think overall, the numbers were down for the store during the festival this year. But I feel like that's probably festival wide. I think all the stores were probably down. I don't feel like there were as many people. I can remember in past years, we'd have people lined up 5 or 6 deep at the counter waiting to check out, and it was steady all day, but there was never really a big backlog of people. And I think just the economy, in general, I think the presidential election, just the unknown of who's going to win that, probably, I'm hoping, regardless of who wins, that once that's behind us, that people will be able to breathe again and maybe start spending money. But yeah, I think in general all the stores are probably down a little bit, just because of everything going on in the world right now, and that's probably true online as well. This year, Johnny, on just my sales part of all my reselling income, I'm tracking, I think, 1% less than last year. So it's pretty much right there. So a good November and December, maybe I can get up. At this point, I don't think I'm going to hugely grow. When I first started doing this, I'd grow 20-30% every year because I'd add the booths, or I'd add a new booth, or I'd start using List Perfectly and cross-posting. I'd have some big major thing I could add and get a huge bump in revenue. And I guess the more you make, the harder it is to make those big percentage jumps. So,
well, it's also like, we talk about it, we've had conversations about me maybe switching to full-time, like after the next calendar year, like maybe even get like a financial advisor and really just kind of have all our ducks in a row before any of that. And, to easily say, like, we have 1,500 listings now. So to say, if we go to 3,000, we'll double our numbers, but that's not true. You know what I mean? Because it's not going to be the same quality stuff, those next 1,500 listings. So it's hard to, like, really, when you hit a point, it's hard to just kind of blow past that.
Well, and really, when you think about it, I mean, there's really only two ways to grow your business. There's sell more stuff at the same price you're selling it at, or sell stuff that costs more, and I guess ideally you'd sell more and at a higher price, and that's really where you get the exponential growth. But because there's only so many hours in the day, so if you list twice as much, well, theoretically, you hope anyway, you're going to spend twice as much time listing, twice as much time packing, so, and you get to a point where there's only so many hours in the day. You got to eat and sleep a little bit anyway. So you do bump up against a ceiling. And I'm definitely hitting that a little bit. And I'm trying some different things to try to bust through that ceiling and get to the next level.
Johnny, I'm sure you've taken the time to sit there and kind of either think, what could you do more of?
I'd rather work 80 hours for myself than 40 for somebody else, right? And so I think that's a lot of it. I think we've talked about this before. You worry about just the basics, right? The healthcare, the retirement funds, all of that. Like if something happens and, I blow my knee out and I'm down for 2 months, like there's no FMLA coming through, things like that. So I do worry about that. And not to go into roles or whatever, but like when you're kind of the man of the house a little bit, like I think there's a vulnerability to that if you're not providing the insurance and the retirements and all of that. So I think that makes me a little scared to do it. But, I think the freedom and just actually kind of loving what you do a little bit, like I work in HR, like I didn't wake up, when I was a kid, I wasn't like, I'm going to grow up and work in HR, like you just kind of fall into it, but it's not like that dream passion kind of thing. Right. And I think like, if I could source more and, we could put more into the social media aspect of things and kind of do all that and just enjoy it. But I do worry that like once it becomes a job, that it's not so like the hard times make it a little harder, and not finding things at the store isn't, oh, well, it's no, we have to find something. Like you don't understand, we have mortgage. And so I worry about that too, of man, I really thought I was going to love this and I don't.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's plenty of, two people in the household who are both full-time resellers out there and who do well. But even in my situation, we know we've got two, steady paychecks coming every month from Amy. So, that does, it helps relieve the stress some. I'm still, when I was.
That gives you, Stewart, a lot more autonomy to be able to do what you do.
Absolutely. And I don't, you talk about the insurance, that's all under Amy. And I don't guess I feel like less of a man, Johnny, that I'm on insurance, but no, you just think about, if you're single or both people are doing reselling, there are a lot of, the whole retirement, saving for retirement is probably the biggest thing. And that's one thing, once, and I'll be 59 and a half in 2 years, almost exactly from now. And, I guess technically I could start dipping into my 401k at that point if I needed to, which is kind of hard to believe that I'll be at that age to be able to do that. But, I know when I was in my 20s, I didn't think about needing money when I was in my 60s or 70s, so I think you can be making really good money reselling, but if you're not putting a lot away, and then you're just you got to keep doing it to.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess, and to kind of clarify what I meant earlier, because I would be the one that would put us in by leaving my job, I would be the one putting us in the position where we'd have to figure out insurance, and like we didn't have all those reliable things.
Right.
So I think that's it. Versus if Lizzie had a job that she was always going to have, and she provided and we just knew that was safe and taken care of, versus if I was the reseller and she came home one day and was like, I'm going to join you reselling. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. we got to figure this out.
Yeah. It makes you vulnerable. You feel that.
Yeah.
And it definitely brings, there's certainly a certain amount of stress because, I don't want Amy to feel like, she has to work, till she's 70 to support, Stewart's folly of reselling. So I continue to look for ways to grow this. And fortunately, unfortunately, I lost a lot of the consulting I was doing last year. And that brought in a lot of money. I'm still doing some consulting, but it's a lot more limited. And, so, I've been trying to figure out some ways maybe to bump that back up again as well.
Guys, I found something at the bins the other day.
Major League Baseball.
But I actually think it's a foul ball.
It
did
may
you
be.
get that from the bins, or did you pull it out of somebody's glove at the game?
Yeah, that was me at the Yankee.
Yeah.
So it's how they put the dirt on them. It's got that staining to it.
Is there any way you can vet it at all?
There's no way.
Huh.
Shohei Ohtani's 50th home run ball, guys, right here. Authenticated.
There's probably something you can do in the small print to protect yourself.
Allegedly. This is allegedly.
Allegedly for educational purposes only. There you go. Do you ever find a lot of stuff that has businesses? Do you ever buy any of that kind of stuff?
It depends on what the brand is, and then it sometimes depends on what the business is. Right.
What kind of brands would you see?
For instance, I picked up a Peter Millar polo. The Peter Millar Southern, are they Summer Comfort Peter Millar shirts? Those ones sell the best, but I picked one up that had a Woodford Reserve embroidery on it. So some of those things like that I'll pick up, or if they have a golf course on them, I'll pick them up. But if it has Ted's Diner on it, I might pass on it.
But if you're seeing the Masters, or you're seeing Pebble Beach, or any of those big high dollar golf courses, those are for sure pickups, right?
Well, are you talking about brands, or if they're embroidered or something? Because they're
embroidered. If they're embroidered.
Yeah, for sure. Master stuff, I always pick up. Up Master stuff. There is a Pebble Beach clothing brand that sells polos and stuff, and we don't pick that up. Now, if it was a normal polo that had Pebble Beach embroidered for the golf course,
right,
I would probably snag that. But I've actually sold some. I've probably sold 4 of them. But the golf flags, the pin flags from the Masters, depending upon
awesome.
who won that year. I know I sold, I don't know, it was 06 or something. One of the years Tiger won, and it sold for $150.
That's awesome.
And I found it in the bins, and they don't even weigh anything. Wow.
I've got 2 or 3 Masters hats, and they always put the year on them, So I think I've got an 08, a 10, and maybe a 15 or 16. So
the master hats are a little tricky. One of the things that people think resell really well that don't are the US Open ones, and you guys probably come across those all the time. The only luck I have with those is if they have the ball markers on them. Some of them come with like ball markers on them.
Yeah.
Those will sell. But if it doesn't, and it's the U.S. Open one, we just pass on them.
And does it go also? Is that like tennis as well? Because there's two different, like U.S. Open golf.
Yeah,
US
we've
Open.
actually had some luck with some U.S. Open stuff, some tennis stuff, but I don't really come across it that much.
Mm-hmm. Well, I sold one of my Masters hats, but I still have the other three, so I've had 4 total. But I'm not. I thought they would move a little bit faster than they have, but they haven't. So
a lot of them depend on who won. Like if it has a year on it, it depends. I try to avoid year stuff a lot of the times. And like I'm assuming they're strap backs, and strap backs are tough to sell. But yeah, the master stuff hats are a little bit of a struggle, and hats, at least for me, have slowed down a lot just in general. I don't sell as many hats as I used to. I have them listed, but I don't sell as many.
So what do you think that's about?
Anything ebbs and flows.
Yeah, the best I ever did with hats, and really the only time I ever sold any volume of hats, back when liquidation.com, you could really get some good deals. I don't know if y'all ever bought any pallets from liquidation.com. I mean, I don't think they're as good anymore, but I got I think it was a whole online sports store. It was Overstock maybe. And I got 100 brand new hats, and they were all mostly NBA and NFL teams. And man, I mean, I think I paid $75 for the pallet. So it was 100 hats for $75. And I mean, I was selling all of those for $16 to $24 each. And just that was really the heyday of my hat selling.
Yeah, I also think a lot more people have gotten into selling hats. When we first started reselling and we'd go to the bins, I was the only one that would get hats. People would just give me hats. It was great. And now people are throwing punches for hats. So I that has changed a lot too.
Go, hey, it's that hat guy over there.
Last thing I want to jump into this evening, gentlemen, is returns. I got a return back yesterday. I'd sold one of those rainbow trouts. It's kind of like the big mouth Billy Bass, the singing fish, that moves and stuff. The one I sold, it was just an open box. It still had it was in the plastic, and it had the tie down things on it and everything. So my mistake, I didn't check it. I should have checked it, and I didn't. And I sold it for $24. He gets it, and he says the music plays, but it won't move. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I said, I'm definitely going to take that back. I'm sorry. I apologize. I got it back today, and he's right. I took the back of it off, and I think the gear is actually broke in it. You can hear it spinning in there. So, note to everybody, make sure you check everything. just because you may think it's brand new or just new in box and open box, you better check things, because it's not always the case.
Yeah, I had one return last week. I guess it was just some china that somebody said wasn't the pattern. They thought it was the wrong pattern. They thought it was something else. So, I mean, I do free returns on everything, but I literally will have. I mean, if I have 3 or 4 returns in a year, that would be a bad year for returns. I mean, generally I have 1 or 2, and so and as far as, it's always kind of a gut feeling. If I was selling something like that trout, and if my spidey sense just told me, yeah, they're telling the truth, I would probably just tell them to keep it and just refund. Then you don't, because since I do free returns, I'm paying the return shipping, and that'd be kind of an expensive thing to ship back. Now, if you get kind of, if your spidey sense tells you, well, they're just trying to scam me, then I would have them send it back. But it's just kind of, it's just kind of a sense you have, and it may or may not be right. But fortunately, I don't have to deal with it too often.
Well, he was super nice. I apologize, and I wanted it back because I like to, in that situation, I'm gonna open it up and take a look at it and see if it's fixable. because I do have some, like a soldering little kit thing, and just see if I can actually get it fixed. So that's why I wanted it back. But I didn't doubt anything he said.
What do you think the percentages are that you take off the back and solder the back of a Billy Mouth bass to relist it? No. No. Do you think that will happen first, or the picture and the wall behind you will be painted and remodeled?
Oh, yeah, that'll happen first. Yeah, this is the same. Unless Mel sees this. Tomorrow it'll be, yeah.
Stewart, this is how we know he's really a hoarder.
Well,
these are the signs.
Well, and another reason why I want to solder, I'm not very good at soldering. I just got me a solder kit not too long ago, so I'm wanting to practice now. So I may have it completely melted, torn apart.
Says he doesn't have time for this podcast, and we find out he's playing with his soldering kit.
No, I'll do it online. Look here, I've got this right. I'll solder it right here while we're doing the podcast.
I will say, as nice as like selling clothes from like a shipping and storage standpoint is, I mean, we do process probably like 3 returns a week. Just
really?
For fit and size, or I just didn't like it. And people will literally send back. We don't offer free returns to try to deter people from like sending stuff back, but we'll have people buy shoes for $20. They spent, 10 on shipping, and they're going to send 10 on shipping to get it back. And it's like, you just keep on.
Just keep it, move on.
But that's why we don't offer free returns. So we don't just kind of like rent the runway, and eBay gives you like a god awful amount of time to return things. Like you can wait till the 30th day or the 29th day and put in a return request, and then they give you like 3 weeks on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to like everyone like wore the outfit to the office holiday party, and then they're like shipping it back.
That's even time to go on a 14-day cruise.
For real.
Well, Target, be ready. You may see your Def Leppard shirt or whatever.
Yeah, sending it back.
Coming back.
And I will say that's probably the benefit of selling the kind of stuff I sell is that, for the most part, you have this gravy boat. You can see what it looks like in the pictures. There's not any question about fit. You want it. So, there's just very, very seldom do I have returns for any of that sort of stuff. I mean, like I said, I did have the one last week where somebody said, "Oh, I thought this was a different pattern," and okay, no big deal, just send it back. But
Stuart, we've sold some plates and stuff, and the whole time during shipping, I'm holding my collective breath, going, "Oh, please don't crack, please don't get chipped, please don't," because that's the biggest fear for me of doing what you do and how you do it. I would just be constantly worried.
I worried about chips and crack and held my breath for every package that has one. I would not breathe for the entire months
But think about it.
90% of what I sell.
But in my head, going back to what Johnny's talking about, if he goes full time, and you've got 28 packages going out, just think about how much you're going to be worried if you get 5 or 6, 7 returns back. That's just, I don't know. To me, that would be just devastating. I don't know.
And I think if you're going to be full time, or not even necessarily full time, but if you really want to dive into reselling, I don't want to say you can't think about all the details, but you can't really sweat the details because, it's like, I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago, people getting their packages scanned. I mean, there's people who stand in the post office line for 45 minutes just to get that acceptance scan. I just dump mine in the bin in the back, and,
Yep, right.
I've had a couple of times where there's been an issue, but it was like I think I mentioned the power outage they had at the sorting center. That probably would have been an issue. Well, I guess I would have had an acceptance scan, or, you know, worrying about stuff breaking, or worrying about returns, or worrying about a negative feedback if you get one, or just, you know, whatever, worrying about a dislike on your YouTube, you know, show. Yeah,
Well,
whoever
no,
gave us
First
the
cut is the
dislike-
deepest, Stewart.
dislike last week, and
We're gonna find out who you are.
gonna hunt you down.
I did.
Were you shocked by that, Stewart? Were you shocked by that?
No, because I mean, you know, it's kind of like anything. You're gonna have, I don't know. I'm sure it was somebody didn't. I don't know. Somebody didn't like Guns N' Roses or something, maybe, and so didn't like Johnny's outfit. Who knows?
Or mine?
I did have but I did put a revision request in for a neutral feedback, and they changed it to positive on eBay this week.
Now, did you see that eBay just released more clarification on like how they're going to handle negative feedbacks and like
No.
Yeah, in the latest, what do they call it, the community seller update that comes out times a year, I think. Yeah, I was looking at the one earlier. Let's see. Here's the highlights of it. It says eBay has recently announced updates to its feedback removal process, including more consistent removal. eBay customer service agents will review feedback removal requests more consistently in more scenarios. And each feedback removal request will be reviewed individually by a customer service agent. And then they're also going to have some categories where they'll automatically remove negative feedback. Like if the buyer requested to cancel the order was canceled because the buyer didn't pay, although I didn't think they could even leave feedback in those. But says if the feedback doesn't qualify for automatic removal, eBay will manually review it and notify the user via email. And if they can't remove it, they'll provide you clarification as to why. So I don't know. It sounds like that they're, because I think before this update, they had gotten this, like, taking this hardline stance that they were never going to remove negative.
Nothing.
What it was for. And I think the outcry from the seller community was pretty big. And, you know, I mean, for as much flack as eBay catches, I mean, you know, they're such a huge company. And I know it's like turning the Titanic probably to make changes. Overall, I feel like they're pretty responsive to things.
How are you supposed to reach out to them now that they took away the Facebook message?
I don't know. That's not in there.
They're like, sure, if you find us, we'll review it.
Yeah.
That's your homework this week, Stewart. Figure that out.
I thought I heard you had to like tweet them, or like you had to reach out on Twitter or something, or X.
I don't know. Can you still call them? I used to have to call occasionally, and you always had the, like, you could call and leave your number, and they'd call you back, and it was always, you know, pretty quick, within an hour anyway. I don't even know if there's a phone number anymore or not. It's been years since I've had any really issues that would have, you know, needed a call to eBay. So
eBay should just give you like a couple like oopsies where you can just, if you get a negative, you can just use your oopsie and just get it removed.
it's funny how quickly Poshmark crumbled on their new fee thing. I mean, it's like they pushed it out and like everybody complained, and they like rolled it back within 2 weeks.
But that is like kind of scary, right? Like that makes me worried about Poshmark. And I don't know, did you guys hear about that Citizen app that shut down?
It went out of business, so shut down.
And I'm just like, who is next?
What, Johnny? What you want? Was it Depop? Was it Depop?
Yeah, I got kicked off there, so I don't worry about them
Yeah,
anymore.
we just got banned. We got banned last week by Depop.
Oh, did you?
Oh, okay.
Are you gonna? Did you sell enough to worry about fighting it, or were you like me, where I just the hoops?
No, we
through.
tried to fight it. Lizzie found a pair of Gucci boots at the bins, and we listed them. And overnight, they took them down and said that they were fake. And so we appealed and put in. We had a third party, the real authenticator. We had a third-party authenticator on it that came back authentic. So we didn't even think anything of it. Like I just appealed, put the attachment in, and was like, hey, you know, they're not fake. Like, here you go. Thinking that they were just going to be like, oh, yeah, no problem. We'll remove it and reaccess your account. And they were like, we don't take third-party authentication. and you violated terms of service, you've been banned. Because we got dinged once before for using stock photos. So we had a hand slap already. And so they shut us down. Yeah,
they seem very, I talked about my experience getting banned on Depop, and it was because I, listed a 1906 tin that at one point held adhesive. Literally 150 years ago or whatever, 120 years ago. And, it sent me the message, your account's been suspended because you're selling adhesives, which I'm like, no. And then, and I went through the first step, and then I had to go through like 10 more. And I'm like, I sell like one thing on Depop a month. It's not worth it. So I just let it drop. I never went through the appeal process to get it reinstated. Like, I can't log into Depop anymore. It says your account's been suspended. Reach out to customer service to have it reinstated.
So is that where you're at, Johnny? Are you suspended, or are you just completely banned? You can't.
No, we're completely banned.
Because on your,
but it was
that just seems short-sighted to ban. I don't know. I'm sure AI hits a lot of the first of it, and then there's no humans to look at anything, and figure out, no, this person's not really selling counterfeit stuff.
And I get it. We got our hand slapped for using stock photos, and you shouldn't use stock photos, and everyone does it. Doesn't make it okay, but it just is what it is. So, I got that. It was just like, they said, do you have the original receipt? And I responded and was like, we're resellers. Like 99% of the people on your platform, we are acquiring this stuff from thrift stores. And so if you don't want, put in your terms of service, if you're selling something, it needs to come directly from a retailer. You know what I mean? If you put on a pair of Nikes, you throw up a pair of Jordans, those are faked all the time. But if you found them at Goodwill, there's nowhere for you to prove they're authentic other than using a third party. So it's like, as soon as Depop says these aren't authentic, or, they've flagged us, there's nothing you can do unless you're like, nope, I bought these from Nike or wherever. So what's the point of having a third party authenticator if you're not going to, we're trying to do our due diligence by making sure that everybody's protected. So I didn't understand that. People are getting banned. We started getting a bunch of comments on our video, and they're banning all the Washington Redskins and Cleveland Indians stuff now. People are I'm just everyone's commenting yeah, I just got banned last week. And it's Lizzie used to source on there, so you're not only banning us as sellers, but you're banning buyers. And we had, knock on wood or whatever, anytime we were reviewed on Depop, it was 5 stars. So all our reviews were 5 stars. At the end of this month, we would have been verified sellers. Are those really the people you need to get off your platform?
And then it makes you mad. Whatnot's a good example. You'll read about somebody getting banned for doing one thing, and then you go watch some of these shows where they're and it's the huge sellers. I guess they just kind of turn a blind eye to that stuff. I'm sure a lot of the platforms are the same way, that, if they're selling, X amount of volume, we're just going to kind of not say anything about what they're doing.
Johnny, that can't be sustainable, though, for their platform to keep doing that.
Absolutely not. And I wrote back, so once they denied our appeal, I kind of got stuck, then you can you're no longer trying to get back on, you're giving it to them. And I wrote back and I said, can you please tell me where, I read through your terms of service, can you please tell me where it says that you have to show proof, you have to have a receipt that you bought it directly from the retail shop, and that also you don't allow third-party authentications. And it's not Depop, whatever, forget it. But if Poshmark, for us, if Poshmark or eBay did that to us, that's a big deal, and that's going back to what we talked about before about being a full-time reseller.
Right.
If we get banned on eBay, you're screwed. You know what I mean? Because then
you're going back to find another job.
Exactly. Yeah. And so if it's that easy to just shut you down,
that can happen to anybody. especially like you said, you all were getting ready to be vetted as far as, sellers at the end of the month or something?
Yeah. We had so you had to have above 4.5 stars, and we had 5. You had to not be on probation or whatever, which I guess we were and didn't know it. And then you had to have 4 consecutive months of net of $1,000 or higher. So, I mean, we were at this was 3 weeks ago, and we were at like $700. So, I mean, we were going to hit that 1,000 benchmark. And then I woke up in the middle of the night and saw the email and was like, what the hell? But it's like,
we're done.
but like, how? Just like that's what you want. And I don't mean like we're better than anybody else, but like
Right.
Those are the people you want to off your platform. Like, we're doing what we could.
That would be the number one thing that would scare me the most, is just getting shut down and there's not a thing you can do about it.
There's been several of the big time seller, Commonwealth Picker got kicked off eBay for a little while and then I think got reinstated. I know Nurse Flipper got kicked off Macari, I think it was. And I mean, and the bad thing is, and I know in both those cases, they won't even tell you exactly what you're getting kicked off for. Which makes no sense to me. And I guess their reasonings that they don't want you to go tell somebody else doing the same thing. Oh, don't do this. So, but yeah, I mean, it can, and even cross posting. I mean, it provides some protection, but you're right, Johnny. I mean, you lose eBay is probably most people's one. You can't afford to lose it. I mean, because the eBay's easily 50% plus of my business every month on my online marketplaces, and the rest of the other 4 make up the other 50%.
And it's like nothing's going to just equally replace that, right? Like they're like the mothership. And, you can go and say, all right, well, I'll do whatnot then. Well, you have to build that vault. Like, that's not just, you just turn it on and, there's 100 people in your show, buying 200 things and whatever. Like, then you have to build that up, but it's hard to maintain that and run your eBay store.
Oh yeah.
Even if you look at
as much anymore, because I did okay on it. I never got the margins I would get on the other platforms, but really the reason I stopped doing whatnot shows as often is just the amount of time it took me to get ready for a show versus I could take that, same 8 hours and list a ton of stuff on eBay and get a lot better return. And so, now my whatnot life's pretty much, I do a special event like once every month or 2. Like, I'm doing a show this weekend, the 10th. It'll be this weekend is when this show airs. I'll be part of Paperpalooza, but really that's all I do on whatnot anymore. I still list to the marketplace and I do sell occasionally stuff on the marketplace. I just cross post it as part of my process. In my case, I was a very small seller on Depop. I mean, as far as like them losing any revenue because they kicked me off, not really, but still, it's just,
Well, and I'm like you all.
I look at the fact that I wasn't selling adhesive. I was selling a can that was empty and had probably been empty for 120 years.
I just want to know what it is I did wrong, because how can you correct anything if you don't know what you've done? And
I will give Depop credit. At least they were very clear in the message. What I violated this terms of service about selling this product. But what's weird is that, I had never had, as far as I know, had never had any other dings with Depop. Just that one was serious enough that they immediately suspended my account. So that seems kind of crazy, but
when you're kind of like those lower tier apps like that Kittison that shut down, not that you want to be the Wild West and let anybody on, but like you kind of need people a little bit.
Yeah, because you're not going to be on long,
Yeah.
Wasn't Kittison like kids and maternity and stuff like that? They've been around for a pretty good
10
while,
years.
though, I think. 10 years? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How long has Depop been around, Johnny?
I don't know. Probably around the same.
Now, it started in Europe, though, before it came to the States. I think it's in English.
Yeah, I think it's based out of the UK.
So they may have been owned, a little longer there before they came to America.
Oh man, because we had finally built it, right? Like through cross listing, we had finally built it. We were doing like $1,500 like the last couple months. Like it's my mortgage payment. Like Depop was like paying my mortgage, and then you're like,
I can see you're wearing it.
I am, man. It still ticks me off because I liked it too, because you could source a little different for it. So it was kind of like fun. It was like the little play thing.
Right.
Wes, I'm going to make you sign up for Depop and send me your login information so I can start selling again.
I got you.
I'll be back. And we're going to sell all the adhesive stuff we want.
And I'll be banned by this time next week.
Our goal is to now get you banned from Depop.
Yeah, Johnny will send me an email. You've been banned. Well, that is all the time we have tonight on the Finders Flippers Resell Podcast, episode number 40. Gentlemen, it was a good one, and we had a lot of action-packed stuff in this one.
I loved it.
Wow, yeah, this one just kind of took off, and it's like pull our string and watch us go. That was a fun episode. Yeah, the question's going to be, are we going to hit 50 episodes first or 200 subscribers? Either way, we probably should do a live for 50 and a live for 200. So
I like it.
Looking forward to it. So appreciate it.
And we're going to bring the ladies on soon too, right?
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Bring the ladies on, yeah.
The ladies.
Bring them in soon.
Finders Flippers.
Have them join us. Well, gentlemen, I hope you have a great week of reselling, and try not to go out and get banned anywhere else, okay?
Ready to get blocked.
Have a great one, guys.
Bye, guys.
See ya.